Welcome to the Scale Model Junkie YouTube channel. In this episode, we're going to be painting the driver from the US M8 Greyhound crew from Jason Studios in 1/16 scale. This is in conjunction with my current build, which is the US M8 Greyhound by Andy's Hobby Headquarters. The details of the figure are outstanding and crisp, from the folds of the uniform to the face, the fingers, all the way to the buckles and buttons. It's way better than you could get with any kit figure. They do require a little cleanup, but nothing that your hobby knife and a sanding stick can't make quick work of. Once the figures are all cleaned up, you could do a little test fitting, but most likely they're going to fit just great. When you're ready to glue the figure, I use the thick type super glue. Use a little bit of an accelerator just to speed up the process. As I constructed the figure, I did a quick little test fit just to ensure that he fit properly inside of the vehicle. I did have to take a little bit off the back side of the figure, but nothing that was major. After the figure's assembled, I do give a good primer of Mr. Surfacer's 1500 Black. After primer had set, I used the AK Interactive 3rd Gen US Olive base uniform color, just giving an even application to the figure, ensuring that I hit all the underside and anywhere that would be visible. Here we're using a little bit of buff lightened into the base color to bring out some of them highlights, to make them highlights pop. We're just making sure that we didn't miss anything with the airbrush, just so we have sufficient coverage. We just touch up in areas where you think that you might need to add a little bit more maybe give a little bit more contrasting look. Again, use the buff color to the base color just to add some of them highlights to make those folds really pop on that uniform. You just want to highlight the key spots, the highest spots, especially since this figure is going to be sitting inside the vehicle. The only really visible part of his uniform that you will see will be his shoulders and his arms. All right, now that the green tones are done, we'll move on to the skin colors. For this, I use the AK Interactive Human Flesh Tone set, as well as the Atom colors by Ammo by MIG. We start off using the base flesh. We use the dark shadow flesh. And then we'll use the light flesh as well as the highlight flesh. We make sure to just get a good even coverage, light coverage. You don't want to go too thick. Make sure you get all in between the fingers. All right, now we moved on to the head. Again, just the initial application of the base skin tone. Make sure that you use nice thin coats. You don't want to put it on too thick. Here we're going to apply the lighter skin tones, kind of bring out those highlights and those high points on the facial expression. Off the camera view, I have my wet palette where I do most of the wet blending. I'll blend those colors together, try to get a variation of skin tone colors. With this initial application, it kind of looks funny a little bit, almost like a clown face, but that'll all be blended away and it'll look right. You almost want to exaggerate the highlights of where the light is going to hit the face to draw the viewer's eyes right to those details. It's all about a play on the lighting, but you're doing it with a paintbrush and paint. The key to painting a figure, in my opinion, is just take your time. If you mess up, you can just go back over it and redo it. No big deal. Here we added some of that Atom color of the beige pink to give that figure some warmth. Use a little darker color for those shadow undertones and just to bring out a little bit of the variation and to counter some of those highlights. Again, he's sitting inside of a vehicle, kind of tucked in, so shadows are definitely going to be coming into play. I've always struggled with painting figures, trying to make them with a realistic expression on their face. The molds are really good, but if you don't paint them and accentuate what the sculptor has done, you're defeating the purpose of having such an outstanding detailed figure. So I keep going back and forth, trying to add on, still chasing the look that I really want. Again, I keep just touching up areas where I think that needs it. Again, it's a play on the colors. You're just trying to look for the right color variation between the skin tones. This is what makes painting realistic flesh tones difficult, is because there's so much different variations between the lights and the shadows, and then giving an authentic look to how a human looks. When painting a miniature figure, you have to take into account the light and shadows that when you're looking at a normal person or a person in real life, you really don't look or examine the shadows on their face or how the light is hitting their cheekbones or the bridge of their nose. But when you're painting a scale miniature, you have to take that into consideration, because if you don't put that in there, it just won't look right. I keep checking my work. Also, I do have reference that I look at. You can pull a picture up on Google or anything, just of a person, and kind of see where the light would fall on their face. Try to replicate that to the best of my ability. Just trying to blend the skin tones all together now. Try to tie them all in together. So here, after the skin tones are for the most part done, I start to color in the eyes. So with the eyes, especially the eyeball, you don't want to use pure white. Pure white is not realistic looking, so I usually tend to use an ivory color, or I will use a pure white. I'll just tone it down with the, the highlight flesh tone, kind of give it that creamy, or pinkish, light pink hue. So prior to putting the ivory color down, I did use a dark color to give that eye socket some depth, and especially highlight the areas around the eyelids where the eyelids would be. Painting eyes on 1/16 figures is a lot easier than 1/35 scale, but it's still very difficult, especially for me. You could have the best skin tones, but if you mess up the eyes and make them googly looking, it could ruin a whole figure. So here, now that the eyeball is painted, now we'll start coloring in that iris and the pupil area. Again, just take your time, use a fine tip brush. You want to kind of take your time and get that natural gaze looking. You don't want one eye going one way and one going the other. So you want to kind of have that stare wherever you're having your figure look. If you can imagine, the scene that he's being placed in. If he's looking off to the left side, for him, then both eyes should kind of have that gaze to the left. So after I sat and looked at the figure for about a day or two, I really wasn't 100% satisfied with the outcome. So I decided I repainted him. All right, so here, just to finish up the helmet, I busted out my number 2 pencil and just rubbed the graphite along the edges and the top where any type of worn metal would actually, show through. It's very light, just to achieve that sheen of metal. This will really make your figure stand out, especially if you're looking at them up close. All right, so here, now that the head is done, just use your snips. I disconnected from my little base that I made there. I'll get it attached to the figure. I didn't really worry about the boots too much because they're not really going to be seen once the figure's set inside the vehicle. Overall, I feel like it came out really good. Now that the figure is done, I can get him placed inside, get him secured in there permanently. Since this is an armored vehicle, a lot of these hatches, a lot of times when this vehicle was in operation, would be open. So a lot of the dirt and dust would be falling in that driver's compartment and throughout the vehicle. So I'll definitely use my weathering pigments and enamels to get this figure a little more dirty and dusty than what he is right here. I really like the way this figure came out. It gives a realistic look of a driver of an M8 Greyhound. I think overall this figure is starting to really come together. Again, the Jason Studios figure sets, whether they're this M8 Greyhound crew, I know he also has the M113 crew, which I have painted as well, and he just came out with a German figure line. They're all outstanding. They really make a painter's job easy. Now that he's in here, I can finally get back to building this vehicle. All right, that's a wrap for this episode. Please tune in to the next one. It's going to be more of the same. We're going to be going back to building the M8 Greyhound. I have a few more figures to paint. So if you enjoyed that, please stay tuned. Just hit that like button if you can. Subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. And thanks for watching.